Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Hush Blackwell, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly. Our topics this week: City Hall saves streetcar expansion. Can Governor Greitens save his career? And can anything save us from Congress? Plus roast and toast. But we start with our Newsmaker segment and talk about some of the major issues in Kansas City, Missouri. Joining me is Councilman Lee Barnes, Jr., who represents the 5th District. Mr. Barnes was elected at large, that is, citywide, in 2015. He's been in the news recently for his oft-stated concerns about the choice of Edgemoor to build the new international airport. We are pleased to welcome to Ruckus Councilman Barnes. Councilman, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Shannon.
We're told that the City Council will have the Memorandum of Understanding completed with Edgemoor by the end of January. We're almost at the end of January. Do you think it's going to happen?
Well, I think there's going to be a Memorandum of Understanding presented to us on next Tuesday, and we then will evaluate whether we're going to move forward or not.
I was correct, I think, in saying that you've often expressed discontent about Edgemoor getting the contract. Can you tell us what it is about Edgemoor and their arrangement that you don't like?
Well, not necessarily discontent with them getting the contract, but I sat through a lot of the interviews. I sat through the presentations, and by far, there were 2 more firms that had better presentations and better proposals that were presented to us as a council. And when we look at those kind of things, I was adamant about the community benefits agreements that we were trying to set out for the entire city, as well as minority and women business contracting. And the other proposals had better proposals as it related to those items.
And those 2 companies were AECom and Burns and McDonnell?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What kinds of things did they offer that Edgemoor did not?
Well, quite honestly, Edgemoor at that time offered nothing as it related to community benefits.
Explain a community benefit.
Well, what happens is in a development of that size, you try to enhance with the relationship with the developer, enhance the entire community with the project that's going to happen. It's a $1 billion project, so say for instance,
you want them to build something for the city?
We want them to contribute to funds that are that we have established that, in particular with other districts that are what we call severely distressed districts, and we've done this in the last 2 years. We've done this with several other hotels that we've gotten CIDs with. So those are the kind of things we want.
They have to provide something beyond just building the airport to get the airport contract.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Last week, I interviewed the head of the local NAACP, Reverend Williams, who said the privatizing of sidewalks in Westport would lead to racial profiling and civil rights violations. You voted to privatize sidewalks in Westport. Do you think the Reverend is incorrect in his assessment?
Well, I think he's correct in his assessment that it could lead to that.
Well, almost anything could lead to that,
right?
Could it not?
So, but as a policymaker, my thought was that the business owners in Westport are trying to do something to curtail what has been happening in Westport for the last several years. And ultimately, we as a city have a right within the bounds of the ordinance to take those sidewalks and streets back if we think that some violations are happening that are leading to violations of people's civil rights. So,
and the checking of people in Westport for 5 hours, 2 nights a week won't begin until the spring.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And won't there be monitors who are trained standing by to make sure everybody is treated fairly? And if someone is not, they can lodge a complaint on the spot?
That's exactly right. And those are some of the things that we made sure were put into the ordinance. And I think if we do that kind of monitoring, I think we'll be successful in contributing to a safer Westport.
Construction has finally begun, believe it or not, on the downtown Convention Hotel.
Yes.
Does that mean great things for Kansas City once it's finished?
I really do think it's going to be a good investment for the city in terms of having more conventions come, having more economic development that happens around the downtown area.
I think elections in Kansas City are next year, are they not?
Yes, 2019. Yes.
Yeah, and almost everybody on the council is said to be running for mayor. Are you running for mayor?
Everyone except me.
You're not running for
No.
mayor. Do you think you'll run for re-election?
Yes, I'll run for re-election.
Well, what's it been like, just quickly on the council? What's the experience been like for you?
Well, the experience has been real good in terms of trying to get to an understanding of what the people of Kansas City want, need, and making Kansas City a safer, more livable city.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for coming in. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate your time. Continued success.
Thank you.
That is Kansas City, Missouri Councilman Lee Barnes. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Lisa Johnston is a consultant and columnist. Patrick McInerney is a former prosecutor, is now in private practice with Spencer Fain. Annie Presley is a writer, publisher, and political fundraiser. And attorney Steve Marakian is with the firm of Wersch, Hobbs, and Marakian. To make it easier for those of you keeping score at home, Democrats are on my left, your right. Republicans are on my right, your left. Welcome back to all of you, Democrats and Republicans alike. Take a moment to note that we have some people joining us in the studio for the program this week. They are from the Parks and Recreation Johnson County 50+ program. You can wave and cheer, do something. You're on camera now. And I understand the 50+ refers to the number of people involved, has nothing to do with their ages. One never knows for sure when hosting a recorded television discussion about the news whether things will change after the taping ends. So with that proviso up front, we begin with Missouri Governor Eric Greitens and the state of his political career. It's been a couple of weeks since he acknowledged his involvement in a post-marital pre-gubernatorial affair. He denies all allegations involving blackmail and physical violence. He denies reports that the FBI is investigating the case. But he cannot possibly deny that this has taken a serious toll on his standing as governor and his political future. So, Patrick, how severe do you think the consequences are?
I think that's the million-dollar question, Mike. Anytime you go anywhere, the first questions are, did you tie her up? Did you blindfold her? Did you blackmail her? Did you hit her? You've got political problems. The question is, does it move his base? Does it matter for him? And does it matter legislatively? Does it lessen his effectiveness in Jeff City? What you heard or what you didn't hear was the deafening silence in Jeff City from Republicans. I mean, they would not come to this guy's defense. Nobody would even say, hey, give the guy a second chance, hear him out, anything, because he has thugged his way through Jeff City since he got there. So I think he's looking for friends. As for his political viability, that may be a question in 2020 because he was on a short list nationally. If you talk to a number of people, I think he may have fallen off that list.
Well, I think it said he wanted to be president someday. His ambitions
Well, there was
were
Pence-Greitens talk in 2020. So.
Annie, you follow Republican politics very closely in Missouri. What do you think about this situation with Greitens? Is it over his career?
Well, I don't think it's over. There have been others who have struggled with this very issue at the national and state levels. We've seen it before, and I'm confident we'll see it again, regrettably. But I think Patrick is actually right. I mean, it's hard to be in a meeting with a guy who you are thinking all those questions, and you hate to even surmise what the answer truly is. So he's damaged goods now.
Steve, do you agree he's damaged goods and not much of a political future?
Well, he's clearly damaged goods. Whether he has a political future, is really hard to say. But to Patrick's point, we saw what happened with the supposed base in the Roy Moore situation. They're analogous situations. Moore denied things. Greitens has denied not the affair, but the serious allegations of abuse and blackmail.
And Moore lost the election.
That's what I'm saying. And so what I'm saying is people said, Moore's base won't care. He'll still get elected. It's old news. But we saw what happened. This is really serious business, and it has definitely weakened his position as governor. And I think it may very well have taken him out for the foreseeable future.
Does anybody miss the days when you could watch the news with your kids? I mean,
yeah, that's
it's really bad stuff. This is not. You can't in any way minimize this.
Lisa, does the fact that Mrs. Greitens has come out and said she's forgiven her husband and they are tight as a family, does that make any difference?
Well, it's minimally helpful, but he's still tarnished. I mean, his reputation is undeniably tarnished at the moment. But what people have to remember is the fact that he doesn't have to run again until 2020, and that is several political lifetimes. So I think that Republicans will, for now, be distancing themselves. But it's unclear everything that will unfold, and it may sort of wash under the bridge and not be as big of an issue in years to come. So I think that unless a text or an email or a voicemail or a voice recording of him comes out that substantiates these illegal activities, I think he'll stay in office and just try to write it out.
Or the picture.
Right, or a picture. Yeah.
By the way, we're going to move away from Greitens. We've ended his career, apparently. Talk about Sam Brownback, the governor of Kansas, who finally been formalized as the International Ambassador for Religious Freedom. He got his nomination secured yesterday by the U.S. Senate. By a very close vote, a one-vote margin. The vote of Mike Pence made it legal. Does this change the thrust of government in Kansas, Brownback being gone and Jeff Collier soon to become governor?
It does. I just wish that Brownback had left earlier, because I think, quite frankly, he's done so much damage by staying in this sort of vague, ungovernor kind of a role while all this went on, that it's made it more difficult for Kansas to govern itself, and it's made it more difficult for people like Collier, and I think it's going to have a very significant impact on the election. Who knows ultimately who's going to be the nominee for the Republicans? You know, Kobach has his continuing problems. Is it going to be Collier? Brownback has done enormous damage, not just because of this tax issue. That is, in my view, completely overblown. Brownback did damage because of all kinds of essentially mismanagement as governor. He was just a very, very bad governor.
Yeah, but Lisa, isn't Collier lumped in with Brownback? They ran as a team, as they do in Kansas. You've not heard him out saying, I don't agree with the governor. In fact, I think we've heard him saying, I agree with the governor.
I think most people do see them as a team and expect Collier to be on a similar page. So he has an opportunity to either continue down the same path or do something to distinguish himself. And it'll be interesting to see which route he chooses. If he wants to be the nominee for governor, he's going to need to be bold and be a leader and do something that piques the interests of Kansans. Otherwise, I think he will have a hard time getting the nomination.
You would think by now he might say, what's the benefit of it? Why bother? He's a wealthy plastic surgeon in Johnson County. He doesn't need this.
He's a public servant, Mike.
Public service. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. There is an old political expression, elections have consequences, suggesting that if you're on the losing side, you have to live with the results. That, however, is not the case when it comes to Kansas City streetcar expansion. In the November election, voters narrowly approved a measure requiring citywide voter approval for any expansion of the streetcar line. On a 10-2 vote, the council ruled the ordinance was defective and void. Therefore, the expansion projects continue. Current plans involve expansion to the plaza and UMKC, as well as to the riverfront area. Although the council's action is legal, what does this do to voter confidence in government? And let's start with Annie.
There's just a cloud around this whole streetcar issue. Started downtown. There was a vote of the people. They weren't for it. They put in a supportive tax that the renters got to vote for, and the people who owned the properties didn't. That'd be me. And I got to pay the tax so my renters could be close to it. That's fine, whatever. So we go on. Now we have a vote, and the people say no again a second time, and the city council's decided that they have a better idea and their way's a better way.
Annie, do you think
How's that work?
Do you think the city council gave this special scrutiny because of the people who are behind the streetcars are very vocal? And they make a lot of noise about their plans.
You know, I talk about people who are searching for relevance, and I think we have...
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
But I feel like there are some people who believe in their minds that this streetcar expansion is really important to Kansas City, and just the voters forget about it. The voters be damned. And I don't agree with governing that way, and particularly when the expansion to Berkeley Park is some $32 million, and the expansion to the plaza is $227 million, plus inflation. I don't understand how they choose that the voters are wrong.
I want to ask Steve a question, and then Patrick the same question. As attorneys, can a determined attorney find defects in virtually any kind of piece of legislation he examines if he really wants to?
Well, absolutely. And when you say the action by the council was legal, that's a very questionable proposition right there.
Well,
but,
it has been done before.
I know. But the answer to your question is yes, a determined attorney can find almost any reason to challenge or can find defects in almost any ordinance or statute or whatever. But what we have here, and I agree with Annie, I didn't like the vote. I mean, the streetcars, they passed. I thought the second vote, which said you can't have the expansion, I thought was absurd, but that's what people voted for. And then for the council to come in, what the Kansas City Council has done right now is essentially declare Kansas City a streetcar sanctuary city. If we don't like it, we're just not going to comply with the law. Forget it.
Patrick, as an attorney, a prominent attorney, could you and people like Marakian find defects in virtually any document that you wanted to look very hard at?
Steve, well, can you find defects? Yeah. Can you file a lawsuit? Sure. But the difference here is that the vote that occurred doesn't have the force of law. The vote that occurred in November on this issue doesn't have the force of law, which is why.
Why not?
Which is why, as you noted, what the council did is legal. Does it stink from an optical standpoint and from a political standpoint and from a confidence standpoint? Absolutely. I mean, it flies in the face of representative democracy, right? But what we've decided here is that the city council can override a vote like that, like they did with Chastain's gondolas.
Yeah, and light rail plan in 2006.
But I think, quickly, and I agree with Patrick, he's right to that extent. However, to say that no judge would look at this and say, I think it's unconstitutional, quite frankly, to have a situation where the city council has the power after giving people the right to vote, and they vote, and then the council comes in and says, we don't like it, so we're going to set aside that vote. I think a court could say that's not appropriate.
And Lisa, I wonder if we've heard the last of this, because there is an attorney, Sherry DeJanes, I believe is her name. Yep. She's been a guest on Ruckus previously, and she's involved in this streetcar litigation. And I believe the Citizens for Responsible Government group is also taking a look at this, so there may be repercussions down the road.
Potentially, and you know, it's not unfathomable to conceive of some kind of a challenge, but it is really disappointing to see the city council move in this way, because it just sends the message that we're going to do whatever we want to do, and we're not really interested in the input.
And that's really regardless of whether you're a streetcar fan or not. It's a process question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there still is a need for more money to get this done, apparently federal money, and there's no assurance that that's going to be forthcoming.
There's no transparency. It's disingenuous on their part, and it's just plain wrong.
And the council says future expansions will be voted on by the entire city, but there are no future expansions being contemplated, and these are the only two that are in front of us at this time.
It's not even clear that it's a good investment, and you know,
it's nothing but a party bus.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I disagree with that. I think that's inaccurate, and that ignores the facts. The problem was the process. And
I park every day at the city market and ride up to my office. So.
This is Ruckus.
Just a joke.
So you're going to build a parking lot?
I don't want people suing me.
This is Ruckus. We don't worry about facts.
That's right.
All right. It was not a happy coincidence for President Trump that the anniversary of his first year in office also brought the start of a government shutdown. The shutdown came because the U.S. Senate could not muster enough votes to pass a continuing resolution approved by the House to fund the federal government's programs. Each side blamed the other. Democrats blaming Republicans, Republicans blaming Democrats. One side called it the Schumer shutdown, the other named it the Trump shutdown. Whatever its name, it only lasted 3 days. Did this quick shutdown benefit either Democrats or Republicans or anyone else? Lisa, then Steve.
Well, the only beneficiaries I can see are cable news channels, because it gave them constant fodder to discuss and put up countdown clocks and so forth. But it certainly didn't politically benefit anyone. And as usual, the Democrats came out on the wrong end of the messaging side of things, because the Republicans all got together and said, everybody say Schumer shut down. And they all did. And the Democrats didn't have a very good rebuttal for that, despite the fact that it wasn't really their responsibility ability to make this happen. Why did the Republicans not have their caucus together? 6 of them didn't vote for it. And if the Democrats had been smart, they would have gotten 4 more people to vote for it, knowing that 3 or 4 of the 6 were not going to vote for it at that point, so that they could say, hey, we contributed our 9 people and you guys didn't come through. It was really disappointing that they drew a line in the sand, wanting something and saying they were going to hold that line, and then all they got was a promise to talk about something.
The line was about DACA, which had nothing to do with the continuing resolution.
Yeah, and that's why I disagree to some extent with Lisa. I think this time, if you're talking about winners and losers, there are a couple of things that are clear. The Democrats lost this one. There's no question. Even their own people, you know, the New York Times, the Washington Free Beacon, they're furious at the Democrats. Secondly, Trump won. He won this one. Like it or not, he won this one, and he did it because the messaging now for the American people is not about DACA. It's about chain migration. It's about ending the visa lottery. It's about building a wall and border security. And then we throw in the fact that if you do all of that, then we can allow this 800,000 or 1 million people to stay in the country legally. That message has now changed dramatically in favor, both by polling and every other aspect, in favor of Trump. What happened here is Schumer and the others, in enormous hypocrisy, overplayed their hand. It was a short shutdown. Trump managed the shutdown beautifully so that it caused very little harm to people, and the optics were this.
Trump didn't manage anything beautifully.
Yes, he did.
No,
and the optics are this. The optics are this. You held 100 million American servicemen hostage for 800,000 non-citizens. That was the optics.
What this was?
They lost.
This was Democrats. This was Democrats breaking into jail. They had this fight won, and on Saturday they let it go. And the problem, and all you need to know, all you need to do is watch Claire McCaskill on the floor of the Senate saying, you know what, let's continue to pay military families and death benefits. Yeah. And who objected?
Yeah.
The majority leader in the Senate.
It was the Republicans who caused this.
All you
Nobody's believing that. Nobody is believing that. The New York Times isn't even buying that story. Nobody is.
Yeah, Schumer got a lot of flack from far-left organizations.
Because, yeah, he drew a line and then nothing happened. Totally. I mean, the Democrats clearly came out a loser.
Was it appropriate to close the government over illegal immigration? It had nothing to do with money.
Mike, here's the only thing I'm surprised about, that the government hasn't shut down under Trump before this. I mean, it's a chaos presidency, and Trump didn't win anything. The Democrats lost it, no question. I don't know that the president came out looking any better than anybody else did in this deal. But, you know, that kind of chaos, and hell, the Republicans are the ones complaining about not being able to understand where he is. In addition to Schumer. Schumer's the one that said it's like nailing Jell-O to a wall.
Well, and then Schumer changes his mind after supposedly offering Trump money for the wall. 2 days later, he goes, no, the money's been pulled back. I'm not going to do it.
Guys, this isn't over yet.
Is this DACA thing ever going to be resolved? It needs to be taken care of. I think everybody is sympathetic.
It does need to be resolved. And I think if you talk to people who have come to this country legally and have taken all the time and made all the effort and all the years to actually get the proper documentation, become citizens, they will tell you that those who do not use the protocol are not very welcome in their frame of mind. And so we're talking about 700, 800,000 people versus 330 million.
And their parents.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, DACA would include but it would include their parents.
And their daughters and granddaughters and maybe an ex.
They're not going to let the children stay and throw the parents out.
Yeah, the sticking point is the parents, and I understand because people are worried about rewarding illegal behavior, and I think that is a concern. But we also have to remember that in this country we have statutes of limitations for virtually any illegal activity, and so if we're going to be consistent, we could lump it in and say, well, you know, it's been a certain amount of time.
And by the way, 86% of the people, Republicans and Democrats, support this.
And by the way, there was one group that benefited from the shutdown: federal employees who got a paid holiday.
Right.
That's
okay.
That's exactly right. Well, we're going to see this all again on February 8th.
Yeah, probably so. Now we head to the soapbox for Roast and Toast, where the Ruckettes have 30 seconds each to cheer or sneer at people and events in the news. And let's start with Steve, who will sneer.
Demonstrative.
I was going to roast the great American hypocrite Chuck Schumer for grotesque hypocrisy in the failed government shutdown for DACA amnesty. But Schumer's dishonesty was trumped, pun intended, by the claim by the FBI leadership that thousands of sensitive texts between Senior Agent Strzok and his senior FBI attorney girlfriend that were been demanded by Congress have been lost due to a system glitch. So if you don't pay your taxes, folks, and if you don't produce subpoena documents, you can just blame it on the glitch. For McCabe, Strzok, and Comey, now the FBI means foolish, blithering idiots.
Lisa.
My roast is for elected leaders who cast their vote based on party influences, gamesmanship, concerns about donor or base opinions. I wish every single elected leader could be hooked up to a polygraph and their votes and issue positions could be forthcoming out of that so that we know what we're getting from them is how they truly feel. How refreshing would that be to have that kind of authenticity and honesty?
Annie.
I'd like to toast all the women who marched last week, and I'd like to roast them because I have no earthly idea what the point of it was.
Anti-Trump. Patrick?
I want to toast Claire McCaskill because she was my senator on the floor, standing up for military families, standing up for soldiers, and asking the United States Senate to continue to pay them. And it was Mitch McConnell who objected and shut that down. So I toast Claire.
All right, here is a toast to whomever is responsible for this unofficial, official-looking road sign that went up after California declared itself to be a sanctuary state. The sign welcomes felons, illegals, and MS-13 gang members to the Sunshine State, adding, Democrats need the votes.
You know that wasn't real.
And that's Ruckus, I said, unofficial, official looking. That's Ruckus for this week. We are back next Thursday at 7. Now for the Ruckettes and the crew, Mike Shannon saying thanks very much for watching and good night.
Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Hush Blackwell, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.